Hello and welcome back to the Live Your Life series, brought to you by myself, Bree Milas, as well as the Who I Am Foundation. If you've seen some of the videos so far, you already have a pretty good sense of what we're here to talk about. Every single week, the goal is just to drop some weekly tips of motivation and ways in which you can hopefully lead and live a life with greater purpose as well as fulfillment. So if you joined me last week, you already know that we talked about ways to detox our life. More so, how do you get rid of all those little distractions that may be getting in the way of you being successful in achieving your goals? And how do you allot more time to doing what it is you need to do to make space and room to accomplish those goals and visions that you have for yourself? This week, we are talking about self-confidence and kind of assessing where we're at on it. Are we lacking self-confidence? Maybe we have a really big ego, but more importantly, kind of taking a good look and getting a better sense at the skills, strengths, talents, and abilities that we bring to the table. As people, we are all unique. We are all incredible individuals. And I believe that we all have our own amazing, unique skills, talents, and abilities. And I don't know about you all, but I love being different. And I love celebrating, people's differences, because I feel if we were all the same, that would be so boring, right? And I love learning from others who have strengths that I don't have, because it allows me to be a better person. It allows me to grow. It allows me to learn more about, how amazing this world can be and how many incredible people we may cross paths with throughout our time here. So with that being said, why is it important to kind of be aware of the person you want to be aware of the strengths, the values, and abilities that you have? Well, it's very valuable to feel secure in who you are. And in order to feel secure in who you are, you need to have a good sense of what you're good at, right? And there's nothing wrong with having a good understanding of where your strengths and abilities are. This doesn't mean that, having self-confidence doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're over here bragging about your skills or anything like that. There's a lot of value in knowing what your strengths are, because that really speaks to the way in which you may show up in a space, the way in which you work with others, the way in which you communicate with others in your personal as well as your professional life. If you're someone who has had exposure to working on a team, whether it be through sports or whether it be in your workplace, you know that not everyone on your team is the same, right? And that's really where that value of working in a team environment comes into play, because every single person on the team brings different skills, brings different talents and abilities to be able to come together and be successful. So that's why it's very valuable for you to kind of have a good sense of, this is who I am, this is what I have to contribute, not only in the workplace, but like I said, we cross paths with so many different people throughout this life. So what are some ways in which you can share some of your unique skills, talents, and abilities with others to kind of uplift them, motivate them, and inspire them to keep moving forward towards their own personal goals and visions that they have for their life? So getting started, what we have to do is kind of take an internal look at, what our life looks like. What do our strengths look like? So time to get a little uncomfortable by assessing who is the real you, right? Sometimes we may feel that it's kind of difficult to think about, I'm really good at this, or here's some unique skills that I have. Here's what makes me an individual. Here's where my talents lie. But if you really take the time to stop and think about it, you can probably come up with some really unique skills and abilities that you have to contribute. So first things first, having awareness of your strengths and beliefs. So what are some things in your life that you do well? And this is something we talked about, a few videos back. The areas in your life in which you excel, you thrive in. And then, there's some other areas in your life that maybe you need a little bit more work in, right? So an area for me that I do well in, I would say, is motivation and self-determination. So I'm very self-driven. I can definitely come up with a goal for myself, and then I'm really good at setting sub goals to be able to achieve my ultimate goal. But with that, self-determination comes the need for motivation. So I'm also great at staying motivated to achieve my goals. And I know that I have a really good sense of that strength of being self-driven and being motivated to see it out till the end until it's done. Something that I'm not so good at, although I'm driven, although I can accomplish my goals, I am a huge procrastinator. So I am well aware that doing things in a timely manner is not one of my strengths. But like I said, I have a really good sense of how to accomplish my goals and the little steps that I need to take in between. So self-determination, motivation, those are some of my top skills. Really thinking about what are some of the strengths that you bring to the table. Maybe you're an excellent communicator, and do not underestimate your skills. I think sometimes when people really try to think about what do I bring to the table, what skills do I have, like I'm not special, I'm not unique, really sit and think about it. What are some ways in which you engage in conversation with other people? Are you a good listener? Or are you someone who's really good at asking follow-up questions, probing, getting to know people more? Maybe you're great at finding a place of understanding. Maybe you're really good at having conversations with people and then letting them know, like, hey, it seems like you're very interested in this type of work. Let me connect you to so-and-so because I think they would be a really good person for you to connect with, so you can learn a little bit more about the type of work that they're doing since you have a similar interest. So maybe you're a good connector. Just really try to assess ways in which you approach communication, different conversations, and how you work well with others. If you're someone who has been on a team setting, again, really think about what makes you different. How do you stand out from your other teammates in that space? What do you have to bring? What do you have to deliver? And just owning it, right? I think there's so much beauty in being proud of who we are. And we can be our own worst critics, right? We always can see all the things that we do wrong or all the things that we need to do better, but really stop and think about the things that you do well, because I can guarantee you can think of at least 3, right? Going off of that, it's also very important to be aware of what you value. So knowing your strengths, knowing what you value can lead to you feeling more secure in who you are as a person. I like to think of values as something that we could say are almost those non-negotiables, right? So certain things that I value would be living a positive and optimistic lifestyle. I value my family. I value education. Those are almost non-negotiables for me, right? Meaning I know I cannot live my life without these things in it, without me caring about these things, without me prioritizing these things, because I value them. So they're very intertwined with who I am in the way in which I live my life, essentially. So kind of stop and think about what are the things that you value, what are the things you care about, and how do you, kind of move forward with those values. By kind of having a good sense of what you value, you can almost kind of see through that the strengths that you hold. If you're someone who values your family, maybe you would drop everything, in a heartbeat for them. So maybe, again, you're a very caring person. That could be your strengths. You're a very relational person. That could be your strength. So just really thinking about how these things are all connected can allow you to have a better sense and understanding of who you are as a person and some of the skills and strengths that you have. If you're having a really hard time at doing some deep reflection, thinking about the strengths and abilities that you have, not so secure and kind of saying confidently, this is what I bring to the table, here are my strengths. We've already taken the time to kind of take a look at the internal and try to assess that. Now let's move into the external. Maybe if you're still struggling, taking a look from an outside perspective may be able to help you a little bit more. So the external is more so maybe taking a self-assessment. As silly as it may sound, there are so many little quizzes out there. Just go ahead online and kind of plug in like what are my top 5 strengths? Quizzes or something like that, just to get a better sense and idea of how you operate. What are some of your personality traits? What are some of the characteristics that really come through when you're asked specific questions? Doing self-assessments can be very helpful to kind of have the solid, like, okay, here are my top 3, top 5 strengths. I have a really good sense of that. And more times than not, too, I would say they're pretty effective because they really do kind of let you be like, okay, yeah, that's really a good sense of who I am. I can totally resonate with that. That makes complete sense. Another way that you can kind of utilize an external approach to get a better sense of the skills and abilities that you have would be asking a friend or asking a coworker, like, hey, when you think of me, what are some of the top things that come to mind? If you had to describe me in 3 words, what would it be? And just kind of ask a few people and see where the overlap is. Look and listen for the consistency, right? And kind of take that as your top few strengths, your top few skills, because people, especially if you have friends or coworkers who are willing to be honest, people can really give us a really good insight to who we are as well. And maybe you feel like you have a good sense of who you are internally, and you could have easily said right off the bat, these are my top few skills. I already know, I own it. I love it. I love myself. I love who I am, and I am highly secure. That's awesome. But also maybe even still taking the time to take an external approach, do a self-assessment to see what your top 5 strengths are. Ask a couple friends, ask a couple family members, ask a couple coworkers, when you think of me, what are the top things that come to mind? And then compare what you think about yourself and what that outside perspective is saying. I promise you there's probably some overlap, so don't be too afraid to do that. But I think it's just as valuable to have a good sense of who we think we are and how others actually perceive us in the day-to-day. Tying into our overall strengths and abilities doesn't necessarily always have to be more so on the feeling side. Say, like I said, I know that I am self-determined, right? I know that I am easily motivated to accomplish my goals, but that's not necessarily something that people could physically see from an external view about me, right? So what are some ways that I demonstrate that would make that known to other people who may be providing that outside perspective to say, like, oh, I definitely agree, you are self-determined. I definitely agree, you are motivated. I think a lot of it really speaks to how we show up as people in different spaces. Our posture. Are you someone who enters the room and you're, slouched over, or your arms are crossed because you feel uncomfortable? Or are you someone who walks with confidence? Your shoulders are back and down. You're open to communication. You have a smile on your face. You're, put together. You are just demonstrating that confidence. That means that you have a really good sense of who you are as a person, and you're comfortable in who you are and you own it. Another external way to demonstrate our skills and abilities is just personal self-care, right? We kind of talked about this a couple videos back too, and having that self-care and how valuable that is. But literally, like, self-care, again, it doesn't have to be this extravagant dedication of time to yourself. I think it can be, and it should be sometimes, doesn't have to be all the time, but that could literally mean like getting up and doing your hair. Just saying. Or, getting up and getting dressed for the day, or, just whatever it is. So that self-grooming, that can be another way that you exemplify some of the skills and abilities you have. I'm driven, so I'm going to show up looking like, not only looking like I can play the part, but I'm going to prove to you that I can. And I'm motivated to see it out till the end. So I'm going to continue to show up, appear confident, shoulders back and down, smile on my face, greet everyone in the room, and just kind of give them a sense that I'm here, I'm welcome to hearing your thoughts, your ideas, and I'm positive, and I have that optimistic outlook because I always have a smile on my face. Whenever I'm walking in maybe a store or wherever it may be, I always smile when I make eye contact with people. just letting them know, like, hey, I see you, I care about you, and just letting them know that they matter. So that's just something about me on the external, in ways in which I can kind of highlight and show and demonstrate some of those internal skills and abilities that I know that I have, but maybe people can't physically see them, but that's a way in which I can demonstrate them. So there is a lot of value in being self-aware in ways in which we show up, how we show up, knowing what our skills, our talents, and abilities are, because it just ties in so much to our overall outlook on life, and as well as the way that people look into our lives. Outside perspectives can really say a lot about who we are as a person. It demonstrates the way in which others see how we walk through this life that we've been given. So really being happy and owning who you are is so powerful, and being self-aware of the amazing things about yourself that make you unique, that make you an individual, and being confident to share that with other people, as well as take away from what others have to share in this world. There's so much beauty in that. So I strongly encourage you to have a good sense of who you are as a person, know your strengths, know your skills, know your abilities, and own it. And don't be afraid to share it out with others, because I really want you to live this life, make the most of it, and just go out there and thrive with your purpose and leading a life that really exemplifies fulfillment, because you're confident in who you are and you want other people to know that, and you want to see others around you succeed. You also want to build them up, but other people around you may need some of your skills, your talents, and your abilities to be the ultimate person that they're meant to be. So thank you all so much for joining me. I'm very excited and looking forward to coming back again next week. Hopefully you'll join me. Hopefully this was helpful, a little bit more inspiration and motivation into your week. Next time, we're going to talk about taking down obstacles. So what are some more things that may be getting in the way of you moving forward with those goals, those visions, and accomplishments that you have for yourself? Thank you so much again. My name is Bree Milas. Let me know if you have any questions. Please email me. Please like the video. And I hope you have a great week. Thank you so much.